Hello and welcome to the Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle. So, Peter, Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the EU Commission, had announced not too long ago that the EU was creating a center for democracy resilience. And no one, all these institutions, they kind of spring up, like mushrooms after a rain. You never really know. Sounds fantastic, some democracy resilience, um, and what they're supposed to be about. But it's clear that it has very little to do with democracy. It's what is known, and she kind of articulated this some time ago, that it's about not debunking, but pre-bunking. That's her contribution to intellectual thought, and which means not really even fact checking. It means censorship. That's basically it. And of course, by lavishly funding these kinds of institutions, the purpose is to have lots of people spying
Yeah,
on everybody else's discussions.
it's a thought police.
The thought police, exactly, and then report them to the appropriate authorities. And if those conversations are not taken down, then they can threaten the platforms with getting kicked out of the European market. I mean, that's kind of works. So you spy on these conversations, and then you go to Musk or Durov or whoever, or Zuckerberg. Hey, you've got to do something about this, and if they don't, then you're in violation of the Digital Services Act, and you're going to be threatened with severe punishment, massive fines, and ultimately expulsion from the European market. So that's the plan. So when she articulated this in her ridiculous State of the Union speech, which is absolutely so obnoxious that they've taken over this American idea of the State of the Union. She, who is an absolutely unelected bureaucrat, speaking to these members of a European Parliament that nobody actually even votes for. But this was
What
she's
cares about?
yes, exactly. But then they're very well paid. It's a very
Yes,
nice.
everyone, they like to think of themselves as a parliament. They cannot introduce
No,
legislation.
no, no.
It comes from the top.
That's right.
And if you look at the planning of the political structures of the European Union, at the very end they said, "Oh, geez, we don't have any representation." Okay, well, let's create some kind of parliament.
That's
Okay,
right.
it
Yeah,
was really an afterthought. It
yeah.
wasn't something like, "How can we get everyone represented?" No, they were working on the commission, and that's what they wanted most. Okay, and all of this is an afterthought, and plenty of people, let's say when in France, okay, you're on the list, your party doesn't do well, you're not, you don't make it high enough. Like, okay, well, I'll just be in the European Parliament until the next cycle. They all do it.
That's right. That's right. That's right. You're absolutely right. They created this parliament to give this illusion of
Illusion.
democratic accountability because everyone can see, hey, there's no democracy here. You're kind of, especially as they increasingly move towards creating the super state, completely centralized control. And they said, well, there's no democratic accountability. So there's sort of this parliament. Oh, that's well, we have elected representatives, but they have no power, and that's why no one even pays any attention to these
Yeah, so
European parliamentary
for,
elections.
for example, let's say some kind of environmental law, okay, and the commission devises it, and then they send it to the European Parliament. Well, if they pass it, that's fine. If they don't pass it, well, that's fine too.
That's right.
It's okay too.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's it. So she was at the State of the Union, and she says, "Our democracy is under attack. The rise in information manipulation and disinformation is dividing our societies."
No, no, no. What it is that your rule, your undemocratic rule, is dividing the elites from everybody else. That's what's really happening.
That's right. But that because for some reason, which she doesn't seem to understand, the public is not enthused by the European bureaucracy. I mean, the public just doesn't see the reason for its ridiculous environmental policies, doesn't see the reason for its ridiculous energy policies, doesn't see the reason for its war policies. So rather than address the issue as to why you're pursuing policies that are so hated throughout the continent, you say it's all Russia. Well, that's very easy. That makes life very easy for you. Oh, it's all the Russians. If it wasn't this hybrid war or whatever war, information war that Russia's waging, and it's never even clear how is Russia waging this war. RT and Sputnik are banned in the EU. I mean, they're banned in the UK. So what is the mechanism for this war?
Maybe they're taking a page from Dr. Strangelove. They're putting it in the water.
Yes, it is. It is not only eroding trust in the truth, but
What
also
is
democracy
truth?
itself.
She knows the truth. Here we go again.
I am the truth.
I am the truth, right?
This is why we urgently need the European democracy shield. So this is going to be the new buzzword, democracy shield. We need more capacity to monitor and detect information, manipulation, and disinformation. More capacity to monitor and detect. This is spying. This is essentially everybody eavesdropping on everybody else. You want to kind of create this kind of giant secret police infiltrating every discussion group, every conversation. And of course, there's a lot of money, you can have to hire a lot of people to do all this spying. And of course, the best secret police has always hired lots and lots of people who are eager to denounce their neighbors for unhealthy thoughts. Information manipulation, there's something called information manipulation. This is all very sinister. It's amazing that no one really even thinks just how sinister when you get this official talking about information manipulation.
Well, what they want is they want a shield from people to interrogate their manipulation of their narrative.
Yes,
That's what they want.
that's right. That's right. Exactly. Because the war isn't against Russia. I mean, of course it is against Russia, but primarily this European Center for Democratic Resilience is a war against the public in Europe. It's being directed at Europeans because they're not voting the right way.
That's right.
So we will set up a new European Center for Democratic Resilience. This will bring together all the expertise and capacity across member states, across 27 states and neighboring.
Well, they're creating a Chinese firewall also.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And then in some communities across Europe, traditional media are struggling.
Yeah.
Traditional media are struggling. Wow. In many rural areas, the days of going out for a local paper is a nostalgic memory. This is all phony. I mean, what do you care about rural areas except where you go horse riding? Because you're such a wealthy woman. You grow up horse riding. This has created many news deserts where disinformation thrives. So, the arrogance and contempt that you have for the public, this is a desert, disinformation thriving, throughout Europe. And this is very dangerous for our democracy because informed citizens who can trust what they read and hear are essential to keep those in power accountable. Because, of course, Ursula von der Leyen wants, above all else, to keep those in power accountable. We never really ever found out exactly why did she order so many doses of the vaccine from Pfizer, given her own personal relationship with Pfizer. That were really 10 times as many as were needed. Yes, that was the order that she put in. So she wants to keep people accountable. And when independent media are dismantled or neutralized, our ability to monitor monitor corruption and preserve democracy is severely weakened.
Yeah, but they want to dismantle independent
Yeah,
media.
yes,
That's what they
absolutely.
want to do with this act. They want to dismantle independent media.
That's right. Because we have to keep control. We need
That's right,
control.
because they want to maintain, well, it's already passed, but maintain a monopoly
Yeah.
of information,
Yes.
and independent media is opposed to that. So they want to dismantle independent
That's
media.
right. Exactly. That's the whole point of this center. They want to dismantle independent media, and all under the guise when they talk about disinformation. So who's waging this disinformation? Russia. So all of this. So as Europe mobilizes for this war with Russia, we have to crack down on the disinformation that Russia is spreading. All of it is very sinister, and you have to think of when are Europeans going to wake up to this? Because they're being pushed along. They're making no secret of it. Von der Leyen, Kaya Kallas, they're making no secret that they're preparing for a war. And the first step, obviously, in this preparation is to crack down on dissent.
George and I have experienced this on this podcast. We've had Germans, specifically Germans, come on, and we'll mention like Nord Stream or the origins of the Green Party, and they all like, well, I don't know if I can really actually talk about that, or I mean, they tell us is
Right,
that basically we can't go there.
right, right.
Okay.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. And there's going to be more and more of this in the UK. This is now a regular thing. It's like you don't even notice it. Like you read things on Twitter. Oh, you know, here's I just filmed this police coming to my door and want to interrogate me over my Facebook posts. Apparently, that's a job for the police to start knocking on people's doors and start asking them questions about their Facebook posts. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, why don't you let a community note can take care of that, everyone? You
right.
don't need to call the police.
Exactly. This is
And this is it's a culture of
yes,
denouncing people. That's what they want.
exactly.
They want snitches. They want a
That's it.
snitch.
That's it. That's it. That's it. The snitches, and of course it serves to terrify people. Of course, it's going to terrify people. If you think the police are going to come and start interrogating you, and ultimately that they're going to arrest you, and and send you to prison, which they absolutely will, then yeah, you're going to think twice about what you post. That's the whole purpose. That's how you do it. I mean, essentially, this is state control of information. So she calls it, well, democracy resilience. Of course, they have their allies in the United States, all the Obama and Hillary Clinton,
Who is
and
that? That was, Jankovic? Remember that?
yeah. Nina Yankovic. Yeah, that's right. She worked for, but she was such an enthusiastic censor in chief that it was just even too embarrassing for Biden. You got to put on an act that censorship is the last thing I want to do. I hate censorship. I love free speech. I'm a First Amendment champion, but we have to.
I even composed a song about it.
That's it, exactly. So, and then one other thing that's come to the fore recently is this sudden restriction on visa issuance to Russians, and this was, of course, gleefully announced by Kaya Kallas, the very highly what was it? What Trump would say, the highly respected foreign minister of the EU. um,
Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't say, and she's a real beauty too. Not a real beauty.
she's highly respected. So this was the announcement from the European Commission, and so here's the blah, blah, multiple. There's an issuing of multiple entry visa. The point is no more multiple entry visas to Russian nationals. Um, but what? Yeah,
Again, George, it goes, lived experience for George and I. There was a time during the Cold War in which, to lower tensions, we should have people-to-people contacts.
Right.
I remember I was like 10 or 11 or something like that. I was living in a suburb of Denver and a little town, and the Krasnodar ballet troupe came. And that was part of, people-to-people contacts. We just learned more about each other. That was a really big event in my life. I'd never been to a performance like that, and they were amazing. And it makes you think differently. The Europeans want to cut that off. They don't want it. I mean, it used to be the West to say, look, if we got to know each other a little bit better, maybe we can go somewhere. The Europeans are acting in the opposite direction now.
It's a very ironic turnaround because during the Cold War, it was the West saying, "Hey, our doors are open. Come on in. Whoever, come on in." And it was the Soviets, but also a number of the East European states that refused to permit their people to travel. And that was a big.
A good example of this, a good example, I think it was 1984 when the Olympics was held in Los Angeles, and the Soviets decided not to go because of what happened in the 4 years earlier with Jimmy Carter, when the Americans boycotted it. I'll describe to you the sensitivity that Soviet authorities had about this. You know what they were going to do, George? Though it never happened, they were going to have a cruise ship in LA Harbor where all of their athletes would. They didn't want them in the Olympic Village. They didn't want them in hotel. They all would be watched, all on this cruise ship because now the European Union is a cruise ship that wants to keep only their people in and everybody out.
Everybody else. That's exactly that, and that's a huge difference. The fact that hey, this was all those years they were the West felt very good about themselves. Hey, anyone in the West can travel anywhere he
And
wants.
our values, and we can make arguments. We can go one to one. Bring it on.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Now it's the opposite. We don't want them here, and we're not going to have arguments. We're not even going to have your information outlets. You know, we ban them, but even so, we complain about their ubiquitous presence. Somehow there's a ubiquitous Russian presence everywhere. They are hybrid. It's very hybrid. Um, but anyway, here was this announcement here that an assessment conducted within the local Schengen cooperation, blah, blah, the right concluded that Russia's unprovoked, unjustified war of aggression against Ukraine has profoundly altered the migratory and security risk linked to Russian visa applicants. So, some nice babushka wants to go to see, I don't know, the Champs-Élysées. She's apparently a serious security risk.
Well, babushkas can be a risk, but not in the context that it's being presented here. Okay. You don't want to piss these ladies off. Okay.
Russia's weaponization of migration. I love this. It's like hybrid weaponization of migration. They don't
Yeah.
really mean anything. I mean,
Under every bikini of a Russian teenage girl is a Kalashnikov, everybody.
exactly. Weaponization of migration, acts of sabotage on member states' territory, and on the international waters of the Baltic Sea, because of course
Those,
Russians,
those Russian those terror tourists on the Baltic
the
Sea.
terror, and they blew up the Nord Stream. I mean, these Russians blew it up, causing cyber and industrial espionage threats and potential misuse of visas for promoting propaganda supporting Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. What does that
Can
mean?
you think of one example of that?
I love this here promoting propaganda. So again, the babushka comes along and says something nice about her country. Well, she's promoting propaganda supporting Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine, or engaging in other subversive activities to the detriment of the Union.
Well, pray tell, what is that?
I don't know, to the detriment. How dare you do anything to the detriment of the Union? Mean that Russia visa applicants must be scrutinized thoroughly and frequently before a visa can be issued. and frequently. Therefore, considerably more restrictive rules than those provided on this article should apply in respect of Russian applicants, allowing member states to mitigate threats to public policy or internal security. And then
Yeah,
it
but
goes,
they let IDF soldiers
oh
wander
yeah,
around.
yeah.
Okay.
Of course they do. Um, Anyway, the rules on issuing multiple entry visas as set out should therefore be adapted in respect of these visa applications. And they say, they have to, by way of derogation, that prejudice member states to issue in justified cases multiple entry visas to applicants who prove the need or justify their intention to travel frequently or regularly,
Yeah.
provided that they prove their integrity and reliability.
Well, this was up until the start of the special military operation. Different countries have visa centers in Moscow, but everybody knows, go to the Italian one because it's a lot easier because they just want the money. Okay,
Right.
they just want the money. I don't think this is going to change. Okay,
I
because
guess, yeah, probably.
they're going to up the visa prices. Okay, okay, it's a very lucrative business. And oh yeah, we gave you a visa last year. Oh, okay, don't worry about it. Can you pay
Right.
right now? Here's the
Right.
app. Pay. Okay, here you go.
Yeah.
I saw it with my own eyes. Okay,
No, I think
they want you to pay for the
right,
visa.
right, right. But I think that's gonna. You're right. I think it's gonna be, yeah, like there's certain countries applications. But this gives a number of EU countries, that don't like Russians. Just, hey, we're just not gonna we're not gonna let them in.
Okay,
Um, I mean, yeah,
this is a form of collective punishment.
yeah,
Okay.
that's exactly it. And Uh, this says the assessment conducted within the local Schengen cooperation concluded that the nationals of other visa required countries residing in the Russian Federation do not present the same high risk profile as Russian nationals. So in other words, if you're living, I don't know, from Botswana and you're living in Russian Federation, and you apply for a visa, then that doesn't apply to you. You get your visa right away. But if you're a Russian, then forget about it. It's collective punishment. Now the thing is that that's also it's kind of very problematic because you're punishing people because you don't like the policies of their governments. Now that's not something that is generally thought acceptable. You basically you always you don't like a government policies where you don't like the government policies, but the idea that every Russian has to be taken as responsible for the Russian government. That's a very interesting. That's a very interesting concept. It's very interesting that liberals and people like that former U.S. ambassador to Russia, the guy at Stanford,
McFall.
McFall. Yeah, he actually believes this. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, Russians should be held accountable for the actions of their government. You don't do that in any other country.
Okay. Well, George, I don't like to invoke this very often because it's not appropriate in making a point. But I live here. Okay. Most people are not political at all. I mean, I'm an oddball because I wasn't born here. I don't speak fluent Russian like the average Russian does, and I talk about politics all the time. He's a weird guy. That Peter guy, he's weird. He's always asking about politics. Almost nobody talks about it here.
Right,
Okay. Now, another point. As Europe, descends into irrelevance, it has two things going for it: tourism and luxury brands.
right,
Okay, that's what they have. Sorry, Europeans, but that's basically what you're left with. Okay, you got good cuisine. Okay, but Italian chefs come here. Okay, so whatever. Um, Luxury brands and tourism, you're going to hit both of them hard. Okay,
yeah.
how are you helping yourself?
No, that's right. I mean, I guess it's good for Turkey. I mean, Russians are going to go to Turkey rather than anywhere else and
Yeah,
spend
but
their money in Turkey.
some people will say, and it would be an interesting topic to discuss, though I'm not particularly well versed in it, is all tourists are kind of the same. Well, that might be true, but in my travels, I've come across the comment. but the Russians like to spend money. I've been to Egypt and Turkey and this all-inclusive stuff. They hate the Europeans because they're so goddamn chintzy. I've already paid for it. I'm not, they pay up front. They don't want to spend any money whatsoever. Okay. And the Russians go and they go, well, where are the shops? Where are the boutiques? And they like to spend money. Okay. A lot of Europeans don't do that. They all inclusive. They got the hotel, they got the food, it's all paid for, maybe free beer. They don't spend money on vacations. Okay.
That's right. Um, I mean, it's obviously a highly vindictive
Yeah.
act by among others, the highly respected Kaya Kallas, who was just passionate and obsessive in her hatred of Russians. And of course, she's passionate and obsessive in her need to provoke a war with Russia. I mean, she doesn't really make a secret of it that that's her goal as EU foreign policy chief, to provoke this war with Russia. And this is all part of it. So that, this, Center for Democracy Resilience, this crackdown on Russian tourists. I mean, just Russian tourists, just because they're Russian, they're going to be punished, which is, again, EU values. You're punishing somebody for their nationality.
You, you, just as George and I are speaking right now, it's on the national airwaves. This is what they think of us. This is what they think of you.
Right.
Your money is no good. I mean, this is like soft power, just boom, dropping right into your lap. Okay. And it's all true. It's not a manipulation. That George just read the ordinance there, that's all translated into Russian and people are hearing about it all right now. This is what they think of you.
That's right.
They think they're better than you. You know, when we travel, we spend money. Okay. Yeah, but, okay, shoot yourself in the foot. We're not going to get in the way. Go ahead, fine.
Right. Like, so for instance, I mean, Finland has already suffered
Oh,
quite severely.
they're border towns.
Yeah.
Yes, and,
They,
and
no,
a million euros a day.
that's right. That's right. That's even been covered in the Western media about the serious economic downturn that's taken place in those border towns. And it's very interesting that that's what the Finnish government, it seems, pleased with having essentially screwed over its own people because of this nonsense that somehow Russia is weaponizing. That's it, weaponizing migration. So yeah, weaponizing. The only weaponizing being done here is the government that is now inflicted huge unemployment in those regions. So this is just yet another example of the EU shooting itself
Well, and
in the foot.
not too long ago, Finland and Russia didn't even have to think about that.
Right.
And it was that way for decades during the depths of the Cold War. No problem. No problem.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So that's, we can now look forward to these Center for Democracy Resilience. I mean, there, of course, there's so many of these kinds of centers, the one after another, they just spring up all over the place, lots of people who have nothing else to do in their time other than spy on others, whatever, the Center for Strategic Dialogue in London, Center for Countering Digital Hate, I mean, that you can just, the names just
Yeah,
roll
so
off the
let's say,
tongue.
for example, Western conductors and musicians are not are barred. So somebody in a village in France say, well, we're going to have a little Russian music festival. We're going to do
Right,
Rachmaninoff tonight.
right.
Somebody's going to inform on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
authority
absolutely.
that you're doing that
Absolutely. Yeah,
over
absolutely.
music,
That's right. No,
or
no, no,
maybe a poetry reading.
yeah, poetry. And then you say, this poet, this German poet, he went to Russia a few years ago and collected some kind of a prize in Russia. So cancel this German poet. And that actually does happen. That's exactly what happened. Or a German conductor who had performed in Russia, boom, he suddenly becomes an unperson. Oh, you can't cancel him. You can't invite him to this musical performance. This is now a regular thing in Europe, and it's got
Yeah,
some.
and George, again, going back to history. So, but if a Russian conductor went to New York during the Soviet Union, okay, who did you talk to? Okay, you know, how did you spend your money? What are the names and phone numbers of the people you stayed with? That's it. You would get interrogated, okay, and then you'd be under suspicion because you dealt with foreigners. This is what the European Union is doing now.
Exactly. It's really really chilling and very very sinister. And it's going to get worse and worse. And absolutely, if you're living here in Europe, you're going to have to have to seriously watch your step. I mean, because
Well, maybe
a lot of
somebody,
money is being showered on all these
George,
spies.
somebody might knock on your door.
Oh, absolutely.
Why are you talking to Peter for, huh? Why are you doing that?
Exactly. I mean, if there's a change in government in Hungary,
Hey,
and
Mr. Badjar,
Peter
how,
Magyar is
how common is that as a last name? His name is Peter Hungry.
exactly. It's not as uncommon as one would think, but it is, because the people do have that name, Magyar. But it is weird. Exactly. Peter Hungary,
Peter
or
Hungry.
Peter Hungarian, basically. But
Peter
yeah,
Hungarian.
it's, yeah, yes, yeah.
Okay. These are very, very dark times. This is going along the trend that George and I fully expected. It's going to get a lot worse. And it was these people, Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. It's not about Ukraine.
Right.
This is an organizing principle. Russophobia is just one of them, okay? It is to create this super state of Europe for people like von der Leyen and all these other people. And this is a boon for them. This is an opportunity that we cannot miss.
Absolutely.
It's exactly what this is. And how does this help the people of Ukraine? It doesn't.
How does it help the people of Europe? It doesn't. It's like, yeah, that's right. Absolutely, absolutely. It's like, when you have the State of the Union, you go through the State of the Union. How many times does she mention Russia in it? You think, what, 130. How many times does she mention Ukraine? Probably about 140. That's what your State of the Union is about. I mean, it's so that's your speech.
Yeah, well, what about
It has no other interest
what
other
is the
than, Russia and Ukraine.
what about how to address the deindustrialization of Germany?
Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah,
no, no,
yeah, yeah.
no. And all of these shenanigans about how to fund Ukraine, they never say flat out, and you're going to pay for it. They never say it.
No, no, no. That's the dishonesty of it. Yeah, exactly. Oh no, 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 no. It's like this money. Where's it going to come from?
What is
Absolutely.
it's so insane. It's hard for me to remember. Repatriation loan is that what they?
Um,
And that Russia will pay, this will be part of Russia's
well,
reparations
that's right.
to.
Exactly the reparation. But
Okay, all right. I mean, but the war's still going on, and you're talking
well,
about
that's
reparations now?
the key there is that that's right. They say, well, we're going to use this money as collateral for a loan to Ukraine. But of course, Ukraine gets the loan. Ukraine isn't going to pay back the loan. So that means the collateral is gone. And then they say, oh, it doesn't matter. We don't have to pay this because Russia's going to say, well, we want this money back. But we don't have to pay back until they start paying reparations.
That's not
But it's
banking
not.
law.
But they're not going to do it. So that means you're going to have to pay this money back. Oh no, no, don't worry about anything. Don't. That's all. Yeah, you're going to have to pay it back. That's the thing about money. People kind of want it back. I mean, it's human nature is like that. They don't just forget about money. But so it's a complete fantasy world that they create, and the public doesn't realize it that they're going to be on the hook for this. That's a lot of money. But they say, oh, well, don't worry about anything. No one's going to pay anything. No one, no, we don't have to pay anything back. Oh, it's just,
No such thing as a free lunch,
no, no,
everyone.
no,
Well, just part and parcel of what these people want to do. They're
no,
creating an authoritarian state of snitches.
no.
Eh, Wow. I guess that's the new European value.
Exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
this is a downward cycle that is it's picking up pace.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Okay. I want to end on this here. They say for some miraculous reason, I don't know how it would come about, that there is a resolution to the Ukraine crisis. These policies are not going to be
No,
reversed.
they're not going to revert.
Not going to be
Not going to
reversed.
revert. Absolutely. I think I always assure people don't even think that it's going to change or somehow the war comes to an end and everything is going to go back to the way. Well, no, 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 no. That's not going to happen. This is for keeps. This is absolutely they've mobilized the public, and they are absolutely preparing for this confrontation with Russia. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but they're absolutely preparing for it, and they're not
Well,
they're
it
not
doesn't
giving
have to
up their
happen
plans. Yeah,
because the true aim is control of the European publics. That's it. And the Ukraine, I say this with irony, of course, is a convenient excuse. Okay, doesn't help the Ukrainians very much.
no,
Okay, and it's really interesting too. And I'll end on this. Look at the number of member states in the European Union that are kind of slowly pulling out the welcome mat from the
yep,
Ukrainians. Like, well, you're an able-bodied man. You should probably go back. Okay,
yeah.
so not for Ukraine.
No, no, no,
It's
no.
to keep the current elite and their descendants in power. That's
That's
it. It's very simple.
that's it. That's it. And then whenever there's any challenge to it, we use this whole thing about Russian hybrid warfare, information war, disinformation, misinformation, malinformation. And if that doesn't work, then you just outlaw political parties. That's it. You just outlaw them. And if that doesn't work, then you just arrest them and put them in prison. I mean, something is going to work. I mean, and they've shown already that they mean business, what they did in
Yeah.
Romania
We're,
and
we're,
in
we're-
Moldova.
it's not, it's only a matter of time before they start the dragnet against the ADF,
Right.
ADF in
Exactly.
Germany, AFD, excuse me, in
AFD.
Germany. Because they've already softened everyone up. Oh, they're spying. Members of the party are spying, and then it goes as far as parliamentarians. And then what? No, tomorrow morning, George, or next month, like we got 15
Yep.
of them, okay? And then, well, we got to wrap this party up and all. What? I don't know the timing, but this is what's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Exactly. I think Romania was really the paradigm, that's how you do
Yeah, like
it.
they did this. They did this. Yours got away with that one.
Exactly.
We
They
set a
canceled an
precedent.
election. I mean, it's a kind of,
We got a precedent.
exactly. You imagine canceling an election when the voting has already begun. I mean, they just simply canceled it. It's because they thought within 24 hours we're going to get the wrong result. So we just simply cancel the election, and then
Who
the
who who voted? I was in Poland when it became a member of the European Union, and I cautioned them. Said this is a really big mistake for you. When countries join the European Union, do you realize that a foreign country, a foreign capital, can cancel your
yeah,
sovereign election?
right, right, yeah,
Wow. I thought that's what the Soviets did.
yeah.
And I don't even think they did that.
I don't think it did that. Yeah, yeah. No, that's right. But that's right. That's right.
So,
Of course,
yeah,
yeah.
so Moldova, yeah, okay. The future election outcomes are going to be determined in Brussels. That's why the Georgians are the smart ones. They're like, whoa, look what they did
And
in
of course,
Romania. Don't do that
and that's
to
it.
us.
Remember, the Moldova thing was also interesting because how many political parties did they outlaw before the election? I can't remember. Six political parties altogether were outlawed. So, and then I think two right before. I think within 48 hours of the election. So that was very convenient to do it.
Yeah, and then if you vote for right before Georgia's right before they took out two more. So if you vote for them, then your ballot is
That's it.
invalid.
It's invalid. Yeah, neat.
Yeah,
And then, of course, when you win, then
cool,
hey,
cool.
democracy has triumphed. And then,
Cool.
Michael McFaul again, fantastic, another defeat for Putin. I mean, it's like, you get that's it. You've got everyone plays along with this script.
Yeah, but
Another victory for democracy. And
see,
guess what?
yeah, but see that mindset. See how corrupt that mindset is? Is that we have to destroy democracy to protect democracy. We have to destroy the village to protect to save the village. Okay, this is such a corrupt way of thinking.
Totally corrupt.
And eventually that mindset will come for you. I mean, history has shown that over and over again.
Of course.
You're like, oh yeah, arrest that guy, arrest that guy.
Right,
Okay.
right. That's exactly it.
What defense do you have? What defense do you have?
That's right. And when we read those things like Ursula von der Leyen with all this democracy resilience, well, we have an understanding of what free speech is, which is you can't government has no business preventing people from speaking. That's exact opposite of Ursula von der Leyen, who says, no, it's the responsibility of government to prevent ideas that government does not like from to be banned. That's her view. That's
What
exactly
they're
the
doing,
pure, a censorship view that she has.
it's turning freedom of speech upside down because I think people watching this podcast, there are things that all of us could agree that you probably wouldn't shouldn't you shouldn't say because it's obviously used with malice. Okay, it's probably that you shouldn't say it. Is it completely forbidden to say it? No, but we have a consensus. Using certain words just it doesn't add to any conversation. What they want to do is have proscribed speech,
What
what you must say. Okay, it's not what you shouldn't say; it's what you should say. That's an inversion
That's
of the
no,
mind.
that's right, and that's the thing. I mean, in the United States, there was that concept of prior restraint. Everyone knows what prior restraint means. Government, and it's but they would talk about government has no business restraining speech. But Ursula von der Leyen thinks that government is absolutely responsible. This is what, this is integrity, the integrity of information. That's when it gets, very, very sinister because it's government now. And by coercing these media platform, it's still government. Don't give me that, oh, it's private corporation. No, no, it's government. If you threaten these platforms with that, hey, we're going to kick you out of the EU. You're not going to be access to our market, as if somehow the market is under the control of Ursula von der Leyen. It's her personal market. We're going to kick you out. Then absolutely, it's government coercion. And they're very happy. I mean, Ursula von der Leyen, yeah, that's not my responsibility. I'm above the people. I have a right to decide who gets to speak and who doesn't.
State of the Union. An
Exactly.
unelected bureaucrat
That's
is
right.
the
State of the
state
Union.
of
This
the
is a
union.
State of the Union.
All righty. It's been a long 2 hours here.
Do
Okay.
this.
Um, uh, Everybody get your coffee brewed up. Yeah, or you have one of those machines where you can set the time, 5 minutes before 10 o'clock Eastern time, hit that button. Okay. Because there'll be no excuses, okay? No excuses, okay? All right, I like to joke a lot about this, but I want to reiterate, George puts a lot of time into this. We do this quite a bit, okay? We don't do the super chat thing, okay? Maybe we should, but because we do prefer to do the podcast than do all the live ones. But George puts a lot of time into it. He puts a lot of slides in there, sometimes too many slides, but it's better to err on that side, I believe. But the tip jar is a serious concern. We've been doing this for a long time, so we've shown a commitment to this project and to you.
That's exactly right. We've done more than 2,000 recorded podcasts and innumerable live streams. And then, you got Buddy who was saying, well, I do all of the work and I don't get rewarded. I work a year and a day, slaving over a hot laptop and I don't get any remuneration. I want things moving in the right direction. So, Buddy has a very persuasive way with him. So if you have anything at all, any money lying around, any $100 bills, not doing anything useful, into the tip jar. Cryptocurrency also is good, though I don't really understand it. So um, we're very grateful for all of your help, friendship, and support. The more you're able to donate, the more of these videos we can make, the more we can improve on the technology. And above all, just be able to, let Buddy have just for once, a good night's sleep. So remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.